Hey y'all, what's up? So let's get into this video. I hate my life. How to get rid of your old life and make room for a new one. How do y'all feel about your life currently? Is it getting old? Does it feel stale? Does it feel repetitive? Does it feel what's the word? Monotonous. Okay, so it is 2024. Okay, and I don't know about y'all, but I hate my life. Nah, don't take it the wrong way, okay? We are positive over here. I am grateful for the life I have, so don't take it the wrong way. But I am at the point where I am tired of the way I've been showing up for myself up until this point. So what I mean by that is, I want to say I hate my life because if I'm not fed up with my life to the point where I hate the direction it's going and I want to improve it, then it'll just stay the same. It has to change. Like, I have to change. So what do I mean by that in particular? What particularly about my life is it that I hate? I hate that I'm not living up to my full potential. That is what I'm talking about. And if you're still watching, you hate that you're not living up to your full potential. God gives us all a purpose, which is really to glorify his name, to bring souls to Christ. But the way in which we do that looks different depending on the person. It's been a little over a year since I gave my life to Christ, and I've known that I haven't been living in my purpose and living up to my potential for a couple years, but by adding God into my life and making God the head of my life, I realize I'm not living in his purpose for my life. And so that has I'm over it. I'm confident, and I'm confident enough, I'm strong enough to step up. And so I wanted to make this video for anybody who's in a season of hating that they're not living up to their potential, that they're not living God's purpose for their life, that they keep putting it off, that they keep undervaluing it, undervaluing themselves, underestimating it. This is for you. Some of the ways that I feel that I've been living below my potential, or some of the things that I feel like God wants me to do and I haven't committed to doing, is actually doing this: getting on YouTube and talking to Black women about their self-esteem, their value, their worth, and it being placed and found in a relationship with Jesus Christ, and taking your viewpoint, changing your viewpoint from finding your worth and value in anything but Jesus Christ and what God teaches you to love about yourself. So, taking your value out of being able to find a man, taking your value out of your accomplishments, and how much money you can make, how pretty you are, how great your body looks, how well you dress, how much fly stuff you can afford, your social media following, how well you can cook, if you're married or not, do you have a boyfriend, are men in your DMs, just all of these outside things, because your value is innate because God created you. So there's no need to find it anywhere else. I figured out that I was placing my value in whether or not I could achieve great things. If I don't accomplish it, if I fail at it, I will feel worthless and valueless and stupid. And that has made me not want to keep going. That's part of the reason. And I feel like a lot of people struggle with that. You know, you have to take the importance out of whether or not you fail at it or what if it doesn't work. This is your life. Clearly, if God has placed something on your heart that He wants you to do, it will succeed if you try. Faith without works is dead. You have to try. So, that is one way to get rid of your old life and make room for a new one, is to actually change your mindset around creating a new life in the first place. So you need to actually not put too much pressure on yourself, not try to be a perfectionist and think that everything has to go perfect or a certain way and that you have to control it step by step in order to see success. What you really need to do is just believe that you can do it. That's number one. And then try. So that's like really the first step. The second step is to put in your mind and understand that you can do this. You have to believe in yourself. Even if you don't believe it all the way just yet, you need to tell yourself, I believe I can do this. I can do this. I can succeed. God, give me the heart to truly believe that I can succeed at my next upcoming endeavors in Jesus' name. Because sometimes your heart is not in agreement with your mind. So logically and mentally, you understand that this is where you need to be, but you don't believe it in your heart, which means you don't truly believe it, right? So you have to, if your mind has gotten there first, then the heart will catch up, especially if you want it to catch up. So I've had a few things where I understood logically and mentally, oh, this is a change that I need to make. For instance, for me, one of the examples, and I've had many in the last few months that have showed me that I can in fact talk to women about love and all of that, self-love and self-respect, and I can actually do this as my passion project and I can actually be successful in this, is I was asked to help train new people at work. I've never been in a position to this magnitude of leadership where I do an orientation, I do a tour of where I work, I ask questions, I go over policies and procedures, and I'm speaking in front of people and I'm teaching them how to do the job. When I did that, I realized, oh my God, I can do anything. The things that I want to talk to you guys about, I now understand that I can. And because I was working in that position, I understood a couple things. I started to understand, oh, not only can I speak in public and not be nervous and be confident in doing it. All right, so step 3 to getting rid of your old life and making room for a new one is learning about discipline and learning how to discipline yourself and what that looks like in your life. And that requires you to kind of look at all of your habits and see which ones are good habits, which are bad, and then kind of making a list of each so that you can, visually look at and strike off of a list what habits are keeping you from being disciplined and keeping you from the life that you want, and then what habits you need to add or keep that would assist and aid in you becoming disciplined and you getting the life that you want. So for example, for 2024, I'm not going to let myself off the hook, and I'm going to live my year by quarters. So I'm going to live my year by planning out every 3 months what I'm going to do ahead of time, having a schedule, having goals, how to reach the goals, and I'm going to break them down from 3 months to, okay, every month, what are you going to do? And then every week, what are you going to do? And then day by day, what are you going to do? So that I can optimize my ability to actually show up for myself and accomplish goals and actually be able to do these new things that I want to do. One way to do that, though, you have to be practicing discipline. Discipline, one of the main qualities and characteristics of discipline is doing something that is important to you or that must get done to maintain a certain lifestyle or a certain mindset, or your money, or your standard of living, whatever, is taking your feelings out of it and doing it regardless of how you feel. Discipline is important because, and it ties into emotional intelligence, which I'll do a video on at some point. But in order to really be able to grasp discipline, you need to have your emotional intelligence balanced out, meaning you can't act on how you feel with anything. How you feel should not dictate your actions, your reactions to people, whether or not you go to the gym, etc., etc., etc. It could be so many things, right? It's just like the list goes on and on. A part of emotional intelligence is not reacting and making decisions and actions based on how you feel in the moment. Okay, hold on. Let's talk about the habits I've had that I feel have been hindering me from elevating to the life that I want. So, number one, watching too much TV or consuming too much entertainment. So, too much YouTube content, too many podcasts, and then watching too many reality TV shows. Like, I don't know if you listen to podcasts or you guys watch YouTube videos at work or whatever the case. But a lot of us are using our free time at work or the time that we're able to sneak in to consume content that is not elevating us, that is not provoking thought, that is not challenging us. So that's one way that I'm like, man, I am wasting time. And I've been hearing for months. And when I say hearing, I mean like I'll have a thought of, you need to stop listening to this. You need to stop listening to this podcast. I need to stop listening to this podcast. Oh, why are you about to play that? Oh, or when I'm doing it, I'll have a feeling of, like, I shouldn't be doing this. But I was ignoring it because I wanted to listen to it. Like, and that's really, those be like nudges from God. You ask God for a certain life. You ask God to reveal your purpose. You ask God to elevate you and change your heart posture to one that believes in themselves and is great and confident and all these things. But then when he tells you to stop consuming garbage nonsense, you keep doing it anyway. Like, what? Does that make any sense? So another thing, being on TikTok, just scrolling. While I'm on TikTok, I've scrolled, okay? I can scroll a TikTok. First of all, how about this? How about try to replace most of the podcasts and the YouTube content that you listen to. Replace it with Christian-based or self-help or financial literacy content. Like, why, instead of listening to a podcast at work, it's funny, it's entertaining, ha ha, he he ha, okay, cool, but I could be listening to an audiobook on how to be a good communicator, on how to be more social and how to talk to people. Because after all, I want to go into a field where I talk to people, and I struggle with shyness. I listened to the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. That book was great. Instead of spending all this time listening to these funny and fun podcasts or fun interviews on YouTube or scrolling through TikTok, why don't I read books on how to be outgoing, how to be social, how to work a room, how to do that. Like, I'm already confident enough to actually try it out, because there was a point in time where I wasn't confident enough to actually try the things out. So I'll know that I should do something, but I didn't have the confidence to pull it off. And so now I have the confidence to pull it off. I would literally be talking to people at church, and I'm like, okay, I don't know what to do next. So I'm just going to smile and wait on them to talk. But it's like, no, how about I read books and it'll give me tips on what to do, read articles and I can get tips on what to do, and then practice. How about I do that? That's one example of taking an old habit that you've been having in your life and applying something new. So I just started going to the gym and working out, and I'm gonna start eating better as well. I'm one of those people that can be very undiagnosed ADHD, because I have a hard time focusing, and I have a hard time keeping up with a schedule and being on time for stuff. So I wrote down my entire schedule and what the things I want to do throughout every single day. I will say, since I made that change, because at first I was just trying to like, okay, I know I need to set out the clothes at night. I know I need to give my kids their baths at night. I need to pack my lunch at night. But, you know, I was keeping it in my head. But once I wrote it, got it out of my head and wrote down my schedule, then I was able to actually have set expectations for myself from the time I get up to the time I go to bed. And so you want to be on a schedule so that you don't have to live in chaos, that you can, that's a part of that discipline. If you want to get up at 6 a.m. but you keep going to bed at midnight, if you're not the type of person who can force yourself to get up, then you got to go to bed earlier. So something needs to get sacrificed. You know, set yourself a schedule, write it out. I mean, write the time out. At this time, I'm going to do this. At this time, I'm going to do that. At that time, I'm going to do this. Even if you give yourself a rough time frame. Because the thing is, you don't absolutely have to stick to the time frame. It just needs to be something you try to achieve. Because even if you don't do it perfectly, the fact that you're trying, you see something on paper and you're trying to achieve it, that I think is huge improvements. I also think you should not expect yourself to be able to hit that time right away, even if it's 2 or 3 months. You gotta realize that everything that you do in your life must benefit you. You must get something out of it. That is something that I've learned from reading How to Win Friends and Influence People, is that the author said people only do what benefits them, period. Every person, period. Everything you do, if you want to do something, if you want to change something about yourself and you want to get yourself to change it, I recommend this. How does changing this benefit me? How does watching a Cam Newton interview benefit me? What could I be watching on YouTube instead that benefits me? I want to have more money in my pocket. I want to elevate this year. You got to elevate your mind. Another way to get rid of your old life in order to make room for your new one is to stop scrolling social media so much and use that time to read your Bible, especially because you can read your Bible on your phone and just read one chapter a day. Another way to get rid of your old life and make room for a new one is to consistently go to church. Making sure that you go and praise God and be in the presence of God and godly people more than once a week. So for me, it's going to be 3 times a week coming up here soon, because my church also has small groups that meet up, and they have them where, you know, if you're in a certain area, you can join a group that's close to you. So it stopped for the holiday season, and then it's gonna pick back up. So then I will have a small group that I go to every week, and I was consistent with that. So I was consistently going to church on Sundays and then my small group. But I definitely recommend going to church 2 to 3 times, or being around or going to church or small groups 2 to 3 times a week, so that you can be in God's presence and be around other Christians at least 2 to 3 times a week, because sin is tempting, backsliding is tempting, the world is tempting, because it is sin, sin, sin. Be whatever you want, do whatever you want. The less morals you have, the less high standards that you live your life by, the more acceptance you get. Like, that is so backwards. And so it is very tempting to want to live a sinful life. I mean, honestly, it's not tempting for me. Like, I just cannot backslide. And when I feel myself slipping as far as my routine and being at church and involving myself as far as attending and going and doing small groups and stuff like that, when I catch myself doing that, I just got to pick it back up, because I just know I cannot go back into the world. For me personally, I just can't do it. But there are things that are tempting, or could become tempting, that might not remain true if I allow myself to find reason not to go to church. I might not do some of the worldly things that I used to do anymore, but I might surely mentally develop pride again and think that I got it all under control, and so therefore I could eliminate the need for God and be out here ruling myself, which is what a lot of people do. And that's one of those big tricks that the enemy plays, because you'll be like, well, I don't actually practice a lot of sin, besides, like lying or cussing people out in your head. Because we be doing that, and like, that's some of that's, a lot of that is technically sin, right? So it's like, oh, I'm not that bad, I don't really do that much. So now you get pride, because it's like, oh, you are that bad and you do that much. And if you don't have somebody who's able to keep you accountable outside of yourself, that is Christian, that is a pastor, that is a leader, and then you're not hearing from them more than once a week, and hearing from people who are also shepherded by that pastor more than once a week, and especially at least once a week, because I'm sure I'm talking to people who don't even go every Sunday. God has to come first. If you want to elevate your life, if you want to get rid of your old life to make room for a new one, you need to put God at the forefront. So I'm definitely speaking to Christians, or people that I want you to become a Christian. You definitely need to do that first. And then all these other things I've talked about are also a part of that, because God is going to call you to have discipline, to eliminate junk out of your mind and make room for education. Definitely, instead of watching a bunch of I'm gonna binge watch 2 and 3 TV shows in a week. How about you binge read a book? How about you research how to elevate your finances, how to start a budget, and actually create a budget and actually stick to it? These are things that we need to do. The people before the internet, and people, especially people before TVs, how they lived life, we need to be doing that. They were reading books. They were talking to other people. They were having real connections, human to human connection. That's what we need to be going after. And that is how you get rid of your old life in order to make room for the new one. You need to dump out all the trash that you consume in your mind every day. For me, another one is reading up on celebrity gossip. Why? I will say, I promise, in the last 30 days, I've been feeling so convicted about this, or guilty, because I guess if I was convicted, I would have stopped sooner. I don't know. But I have been feeling like so much like you need to stop looking at celebrity gossip stuff. I have not check nearly half. I think I've actually only spent 10 to 20% of my time, if that, in the last 30 days looking up celebrity gossip or seeing what they doing. It can be addicting to do that. And I'm not one of them people that post negativity or writes mean, nasty comments or nothing. I just be wanting to know, being nosy, because it's entertaining. It's like, okay, you can't find a higher level of entertainment than that. You know what I'm saying? So that's another thing. And that's another reason why some of the podcasts I was listening to or watching online, it's a goal of mine to completely stop listening to them, because a lot of them do post and talk about celebrity gossip and what's going on with famous people and things of that nature, and what lawsuit is out next, and this and that. I don't want to keep up with none of that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I could be reading my Bible, I could be reading, I could be doing something important. Another thing is to pick up hobbies and do things that you enjoy, instead of spending your time watching TV. A lot of this stuff is going to be to eliminate TV. If you like to read books, if you used to read books, go read them. If you like to do, I don't know, if you like to do cartwheels in the backyard, go do some cartwheels and some flips. Just do something else. Do something else other than being on social media aimlessly. I'm not saying don't go on there and learn how to I don't know, learn which apps are the best for investing, or it needs to be a source of learning more than a source of entertainment, is what I'm saying. There is plenty of good information on social media, but we're not always looking for that. Like, in fact, I'm gonna change my algorithm to be nothing but workout gym tips, and how to do RDLs, financial tips, investing tips, self-care, good positive Black relationships, and not stuff about like, I'm tired of seeing people talk about, see, this why I ain't never getting married. I'm like, ugh. And before, I used to be all into it because that's the phase I was in, but now I'm like, yo. And like I said, this is another thing I would hear all the time, well, if you think there's no good men out there, then there's no good men out there. And I'm like, that makes total sense. I definitely need to be like that, but I just wasn't there yet. But I knew that that's where I needed to be. Well, I'm there now. I understand that. I get it. And I'm tired of hearing and consuming content that talks about how negative and how terrible men can be, and all of this stuff. Like, I don't want to see none of that. None of it. I don't want to see none of it, because now it was very beneficial at a point in my life. Okay, because I needed to know the game. I needed to know more about patriarchy. I needed to know what was really going on out here and why it was so hard. I needed to understand that stuff. But now that I understand, now I'm like, okay, well, I'm actually in a place where I just will be very picky and choosy with who I spend my time with. And in fact, I don't have to date at all right now. I actually need to be focusing on what God put me here to do first, and then if he send me a man along, or I can date a little bit after that. But I got some work on me to do, instead of hearing all of that. I want to change my algorithm to, how can you elevate yourself as a woman, how books you should be reading. Here's some cool books, just fun books, but anything that's negativity or that does not promote learning, that does not, I don't want it. Any content that you consume that promotes negativity, get it out of here. If you out here gossiping, get it out of here. Because if you gossiping, then that is not a way to elevate your life and create the life you want. That's a way to stay in the life that you're in. Because as long as you could talk about somebody else so that you could feel better about your situation, then you're going to be comforted in your situation. After you've realized that, you know, you're sick and tired of your life the way it is right now, you hate the trajectory in which you are going in your life because you are not living up to your potential and your goals. So you realize that you stay up too late, you don't eat healthy enough, you don't go to the gym enough, you watch too much social media, you consume too much negativity on social media, you watch too much TV, you don't read your Bible, and you don't go to church enough. And what else do we not do enough? You are not constantly learning something new. You're going to make a list now of all the things you want to be doing or that you already do and they're good. So you're going to write out a new schedule to stick to. You're going to write out your schedule. You're going to write the time you wake up, what you do in the morning, etc., etc., etc. You're going to limit yourself to how much social media you consume, but I would not recommend giving yourself a specific time at first of how long to stay on social media. I would recommend changing your algorithm by searching up more positive things that you would like to see. If you search for certain types of videos on, especially for TikTok, because I'm on TikTok a lot, or YouTube, this probably works too. You search for the type of videos you want to see, you watch them, then your algorithm will change to that. So I recommend changing the algorithm first, and then I recommend, instead of saying I'm only going to spend an hour on social media today, or 30 minutes or 20 minutes, I recommend focusing on doing the things that you want to do and doing them, and the stuff that you don't want to do will eliminate itself, because you don't want to get too perfectionist minded and too detailed too quick. If you just focus on the things you want to do, so make a list of the things you shouldn't be doing, and then do the opposite of that. So if you focus on doing the positive, good things that add value to your life, then you won't have time for the other stuff anymore, or you'll have less time for it, and before you know it, you realize you haven't been doing it as much. For instance, I knew I shouldn't be going out to eat fast food as much, so instead of saying I'm not gonna go out and eat no fast food at all, what I did was I said, okay, well, I'm gonna increase my fiber and vegetable intake and fruit intake, eat higher protein, prepare my meals so that I know how much protein I get every day by preparing my meals, etc., etc., etc. I end up having less time and to go out to eat. I had no need for it because I have food all the time with me already that I like. I got it packed already. I'm good. So then I don't even have to go out to eat. So it's kind of like that. So then, you know, you add in, so we got a schedule now. We're going to the gym more now. We're eating healthier. We're reading books on finance, or we're looking at YouTube videos on finance and how to invest and how to have a budget and how to get passive income. Okay, we're looking at what skills do I have already that can help me improve and make money or get a better job, or I want to go back to school. Can I? Is that something feasible for me? What does that look like? Write everything down. All the things you want to be doing. I want to go hiking 3 times a week. I want to listen to 2 audiobooks a week. I want to read my Bible twice a day. I want to go to church 3 times a week. You write all of that down, and then now that you know the stuff that you definitely want to eliminate, you have it written down, then you wrote down everything you want to do that would elevate your life, that would make room for a better life, a higher quality of life for you. You've written it down, you understand it. Now focus on that and write a plan to achieve those things and start doing them. And I'm going to do it for 90 days. I'm going to commit to this new way of life for 90 days. I don't know any of the statistics on how long you should try and do a new thing. I used to hear for years, oh, the 21-day thing. If you do something for 21 days, it becomes a new way of life. And that typically does work, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to focus on 90 days. Why? Because I remember I said rich people plan their year out quarterly. They live their year by quarters. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give myself 90 days to change the content I consume, change to reading books, reading my Bible, going to more church services, volunteering at church, and I'm going to do it for 90 days. I'm going to commit to this life for 90 days, and I'm not going to base it on my feelings, and you shouldn't either. You should discipline yourself, get that emotional intelligence up so that you can handle doing what you're supposed to do, whether you feel like it or not, doing what's best for you, whether you feel like it or not. And I believe truly that you guys and me as well, in 90 days, we will not recognize ourselves, or let's be who God has called us to be in 2024 and beyond. Please comment on the video. Tell me about some of the goals you have for 2024. What do you want to do in 2024? What are some of the habits you need to break so that you can have the life you want in 2024? Let's level up. Let's elevate our lives together, y'all. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time to be miserable or none of that. And let me explain something. Even though I hate the quality, even though I hate the trajectory my life has been on as far as my purpose, I have not actually hated my life. I've had the most peace I've ever had in my life. I've had the most joy I've ever had in my life. And that's because I have a relationship with God now, and I gave my life to Jesus. Okay? But not living up to your potential, not living in your purpose is dreadful. And it's possible to have joy in every area, and then in one area be like, oh no, I'm disappointed. So yeah, I'm disappointed, you know, and I hate that for me, you know, and I hate that for you too. Okay, we want to be glad, we want to be happy about where we are in our purpose. Not to say that it's going to be perfect or it's not going to be tough, because everything about life is hard and tough, okay? You just find the good in all of it, okay? But I know you will have more confidence in yourself and trust yourself and love yourself more if you give yourself 90 days to make the changes that you wrote down on your list. Take out the time to do it. We always got time to do some BS, but then when it's something important that'll elevate us and benefit us in a positive way, we ain't got time for it. What? We got time for what we want to have time for, right? So I promise you, in 90 days, watch your life change, and y'all gonna watch my life change, because I'm about to record. I'm gonna be on here talking to y'all, and that's how you're gonna know how my life is going, because whatever lessons God has taught me, I'm going to be on here talking to y'all about it, because I'm not about to be sitting here gaining all this wisdom from these experiences in life and then not sharing it. No, I'm telling you, that's my purpose. For God to allow me to experience certain things, for me to glean understanding and wisdom from those experiences, to grow and then to pass off the knowledge. Period. I'm going to be posting on here on Sundays. So come back.